5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the first ever TTV Comics Contest #1 coverage extravaganza. I tried to make that title as long as I could because I know my story.
Yep, that's exactly what I was gonna name it too, so well done.
Thank you, thank you.
That's what I named the Christmas Advent Calendar special, so you know.
You guys are interesting people.
Yeah.
Yes.
With your long title.
So yeah, let's get
Well, your
right to
mother
our
takes really
names.
good care of my snake.
Or Kahiko.
God, I can't believe I said that.
Have fun,
I can't believe
LJ.
I said that. Alright, let's go on.
Alright, so let's start with our names.
I'm Messanak.
I'm LJ.
I believe it.
I'm Kahi.
I would be the person in the back who happens to be known as Keeney.
And I'm the person farther in the bag known as Venom.
Yeah, and let's dive right into a bunch of pixelated, pencily goodness.
But I don't want to dive fixed. I prefer water.
I don't, because, yeah, I can't swim. So, let's jump right in. We are going to be looking at the 12 entries in the comics contest. This is the first ever BZPower comic contest, and it was interesting. The goal of this contest was to make a mystery. And,
Yes.
yeah, there were in total 13. Yeah, there are in total 13 entries, but we will only be going 12. Starting off, Toe of Pumpkin, also known as the Kitano. We will not be going over this entry. Keeney, explain.
It's a complete piece of
Thank you.
and
you guys just don't know art when you see it.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm gonna just say something here. I guess the real mystery in the comic is why he posted it.
Actually, fun fact, from the author himself, he went ahead and said this, it was a joke entry. So,
Yeah.
how does detecting solve anything?
LJ, you're not pronouncing it right. It's ha ha. How does detectigan solve anything? Question mark, exclamation mark.
No.
Yeah, it's a piece of junk.
Yeah.
Do not read
Yeah.
it. We are done
Piece
here.
of junk made to be a piece of junk, but still.
Exactly.
It's like it's a failed attempt at making a piece of junk funny.
I read it as ha. How does detect IGN solve all anything?
Detect hygiene.
So it's a subliminal message.
That would explain something, actually. Now that I think about it.
Yes.
It was.
Anyways, moving on.
Yes.
To the
So,
real comics.
entry number 2, entered by staff member Kakaru, Monsters in the Storm. This was the first.
This one.
This was the first purposeful entry. I don't really understand this entry, actually.
I do.
Yeah, to me it seems to set up something. But I know it's trying to go for an anesthetic by not having words, but I can't help but feel that I would get a lot more if words were added. The purpose of not having words is to emphasize the story, not detract from it. And that's what this is doing.
You gotta look between the lines.
For me.
What if there aren't
What it
any
seems
lines?
someone
Man.
seemed to be murdered, and then turned out to be a Borak, I guess.
Then you
I'm
gotta
not
draw
exactly sure
the
what happens
lines
to the Borak.
yourself and look between them, man. Okay.
Look between the lines.
But anyway, from what we
Shut
can
up.
gather from this, it is set on the island of Matanui. Supposedly, when the Borak arrive. And, yeah.
It really does not make sense. I mean, the art is pretty nice, but
Yeah,
it's
it's good
all too
artwork in that.
jumbled and
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. Like the person.
Well, it makes sense. It's just
What sense
It's
did
very
you get
lacking.
out of it?
I will say,
Yeah.
I will say at first it did seem a bit incoherent, but then I started understanding more as I started reading it over again and again. Then finally realized, oh, someone has been attacked.
Someone
See,
killed
there's a hut.
Kopaka, I think.
Hut's on fire.
And
No,
I don't
It's
know
not
which
Kopaka.
person this is. Is it Tahu or
It's
Taku?
Kopaka.
it's supposed to be.
Kopaka, I think.
See
I find it
that?
interesting how he used a
Well, we can
human
assume
instead
that
of,
it's
Toa.
supposed to be Kopaka or whatever. The character that's shown is human based, but anyway, you see the hut on fire. You see a cracked mask on the ground. You see like a bag of stuff, and then you see some
Bag of
determination in the Then you see some determination in the character's eye, and then he goes and sets off to find out who did this, and then it's the Borok, and then he unleashes his sword, and he puts his sword to the side, and you can assume that something happened,
I couldn't.
because then you see two
See,
shadows
I guess
and,
I couldn't
and a
even.
the way it
star,
almost-
and then
What?
whatever.
Go ahead.
I couldn't even tell that that was a Borok at first. Like it took me several looks.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's like a Borok that has a giant greenish fire pattern on his face.
It's
But-
not.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
it's
No,
green looking to me.
Well, then you're colorblind. See,
I have
Yeah.
to cut
what is
that
it?
out.
It almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost looks to me sort of vaguely, even though I know it's not, but it almost looks to me like the Borok is like the Matoran when it's not, or a hallucination of some sort.
I thought that too, actually.
Because you see, like, one moment he's following the flags, right? And there's the storm, and then there's one panel where there's nothing but storm, and then there's a Borok out of nowhere. And by the time when the Borok appears, his sword is already in its, like, head. Or, if nothing else, it's not even his sword. It's just a dead Borok in, like, the middle of nowhere. And then the Matoran pops up.
I
Yep.
never
Right.
thought of that before.
Another random thing to point out, and this is just a random observation, but I like how there's no color except for red.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's be
And
the best.
a little
Yeah,
bit
I'm
of
green.
green.
They're just green.
Well, and a little bit of green, but
Greenish
I
fire.
like how
Yeah.
this looks like it was all drawn on a canvas. You know,
Yeah,
it wasn't imported.
that's my favorite
into
part of the
computer.
comic is its style.
The style of it is really nice. The lines have very good weight. I love the close up of his hand, especially. I guess maybe just for me, but I find hands like that very hard to draw. And someone's mic has a lot of static. I'm presuming it's only.
It's probably me. I've been blowing my nose.
you
No,
your
it's
mic-
just static.
But anyway,
It's
Um,
tap your mic.
one thing I do want to say quickly is when I first saw this comic, I didn't really pay too much attention. I kind of skimmed over it, and at face value, it didn't look like it was too great. Like, the art style is nice and all that, but I didn't really get the whole mysterious part of it. But I've
Yeah.
found that with a lot of the comics in this contest, if I skim over them or I read them quickly, at face value, they don't look like mysteries. But then as soon as you start actually looking at the detail in each panel and actually looking through, you start to see like a different side to it. And especially with this comic, there are a couple things it could be, and I actually enjoy that about this contest because that's something you don't often see, especially in
I would
comics.
like it more. It was a bit more put out though. I think the main thing for this is that to me it seems more of a story about a murder or a story about a discovery rather than it does an actual mystery about something. It seems to be like it follows the story of Kopaka as he finds the remains of the villager and he finds the Borok rather than the mystery of who killed the villagers. That's where I see it coming from.
But then
This
again,
pattern,
it's
not
just
just this
Borok,
comic
you
has,
know.
I see it. Yeah,
Once
I mean,
you see
it
the
is
Borok, you know.
technically, I guess anything can be a mystery if you have any plot line. It's just,
Yeah.
for me, I see it
It-
more like as a story about something rather than
It
an actual
depends on
mystery.
which. It depends on how you take the comic, like, because depending on which panel you focus on first, like, the mystery could be about who destroyed the village. The mystery could be about who's that Matoran last panel. The mystery could be who killed the Borok if it wasn't Kopaka or whoever that is, because
Well-
looking at some of the other panels. Like, none of the other panels show that Kopaka's got a sword at the time. Which, to me, when you see that first panel with the Borok, it looks like the sword's already stabbed in its head, or whatever you want to call it. Which...
Faceplate.
Faceplate, head, whatever. But, so it could be so many different things that it all depends on how you look at it.
It could, honestly, I think that's reading too much into it. I think that if you really have to look that far into it, it might not be doing that good of a job. A really good mystery had, like, something on the front layer, and then the deeper you get into it, the more you find, the more you'll do. This one, you just have to dig down really deep to get anything. And it seems just like too much of an overanalyzation. He doesn't have the sword in this panel, so maybe the mystery is where did he get his sword, or, like, where'd the Borak come from, maybe the Borak's an illusion.
Where'd that
I think that's
sword
reading way
come
too
from?
much into it.
Well, not necessarily, though,
Yeah.
because it depends on how you want the mystery, because they didn't... Like, the mystery can either be something that's just thrown in your face and, okay, somebody killed this guy, who is it? Or the mystery can be something that you do have to read into, and I prefer it when you have to read a little bit into the mystery, because it adds more, it opens
I
it up
agree.
for your own opinions, right? Like, especially with this comic, right? The mystery isn't thrown in your face, but if you just want to say that the Borok attacked the village, you can just say the Borok attacked the village and Kopaka killed it. Right? But if you want to say that maybe that Matorn's the one who killed the Borok somehow, then you can say the Matorn's the one that killed the Borok somehow, because Kopaka doesn't have a sword in any other panel, etc., etc.
I think he bought his store from the Kokoro Supermart, and that's the mystery. The end.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is the official theory now. He bought the sword from the Kokoro Supermart.
There you go. Love it. Alright, but yeah, all in all, I'd say it was, a good starter mystery for the contest.
I liked the art style, and I liked how it's kinda... You draw your own conclusions, but at the same time, it is kinda a little
It's
overly
open-ended to me.
vague. Yeah.
It's too, like, it's too out there. You just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I guess for I'm so used to reading into things at a ridiculous level that it comes easily to me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, what is this? What is this?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So while it's harder and more annoying for other people, I do it subconsciously anyways, so I don't even notice it. But
Maybe it's like Inception. Like, yeah, it's like you had to read so much into it to get it, but I guess when you really got into Inception, it was a pretty good movie. Not sure I was going with that, but yeah.
anyway,
So that is Monsters in the Storm, one page by Kakara.
Monsters in the Storm.
So, let's go on to the next one. Entry number 3. This is 4 pages long. This is A Dark Deed by Tavakai. And we interviewed him actually very recently of the time of this recording. So, Kahi, give us a quick summary of what this is about.
Yup. Do it.
Okay, Dark 709 is found under the studio. Sherlock Holmes is called to investigate the suspects and to see who really did cause the murder.
When I read it, it was kind of stupid.
Well, your case is kind of
Oh,
stupid,
wow,
Elena.
just-
that was
So we get to-
that was just cruel, Elena. How could you be so mean to this beautiful comic? Because it actually is not that horrible looking of a comic.
My gripe with this is that it is a very unique style for this contest. I really like how he did this. Problem is,
Yeah.
this is also the one entry to me that stands out the most. Because while its style is unique, its mystery is also extremely lackluster.
That's
in
why
my
I said
opinion.
it was stupid.
I think
Yeah, that's true.
Not,
Actually.
I don't know. I'm kind of siding with Alina on this one because it was a lot Scooby-Doo-ish, and it did not really grab my attention. It's very basic, and at the end, I despise this ending because in the end, there were 2 Dark 709s, and one was alive, and then there was the body on the floor, and I really didn't like how that was wrapped up.
Lol.
See,
yeah.
and
Actually,
this
yeah.
is just my opinion, but I feel that in some ways the mystery in this comic is kind of on the same level as Uncle K's mystery, because it's really the comic's more about the art than the story, and I think that's where Tabakai and Uncle K, and I'll get into that one later, missed the mark. Because I think with the mystery comic, it shouldn't be so much about the art. It should be more about the story that you're trying to tell. Granted, that doesn't give you leave to do something like Zakitano did, even as a joke. But it
Then
still
again-
should be more about the mystery than the actual art itself.
Then again, Tav, it didn't seem like Tav was going for a very serious or very in-depth mystery comic either, because obviously this comic was more comedic than all of the other entries.
That's true too.
It's
Yeah.
very reminiscent of his actual comic series, akin the character Detective Shalik Holmes.
Actually, this
Sherlock Holmes.
echoes
I love
the
that.
main reason why I not dislike it. The main reason I find it really not repetitive. I don't know what to say.
Kinda
It's like he
corny.
already did this before. He already did this before, and Who Killed the Kama TK? It was an old saga for his comic series, right? And he had something around the same plot. Someone killed the Kama TK, his own character, and they had to discover the murder. And I guess the thing here is that it's not anything too different from that. Sherlock Holmes comes and he interrogates people, and turns out the guy didn't die after all. But then the mystery at the end just sort of throws it off. There's a good way to do an open-ended story, and this wasn't it, personally. I mean, I really like the style, and I appreciate the effort Tab put into it, but I've seen Tab do a lot of awesome work. I mean, even the recent Advent calendar, he did amazing work.
Yep.
And I just don't think this is his absolute best. I do appreciate the fact that I'm in it, though. That has to say something.
Although you have to,
Like, ha-
you do have to cut him some slack for having only, 3 weeks to do it.
You see, yeah, at the time he made this, he was not aware of the deadline extension. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
we'll give him
That I
yeah,
can also... yeah.
definite extra brownie points for effort, because he did do a good
Yeah.
job on this comic. I love the artwork, but it could have been a better mystery.
I was talking to him, and he said that he would have actually tried to gone for a more serious one had he realized he had more time. But instead went with this one, because, that's how it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, man. You know.
You know,
You know.
man.
You know.
Another
You know.
thing I don't like is how this person made Kai such a bad arguer. Like, if someone accused Kai,
He is a
killing
bad
someone,
arguer, though.
He is a bad arguer, though.
That's what all the poor losers say.
Just like your
I think all
mom.
the poor losers happen to be right.
Insert
I don't know.
raffle copter here.
I don't think it was a bad argument. I think Mr. Shellick is just dumb. Which is true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stereotypical tropey case of the detective who tries to make his own evidence instead of using a pre-existing one.
Hey, pal.
Like
We
just
have
like
a lot of hard work.
And Kahi's just like, really? You're actually trying this?
Yeah. So anyway, unless there's anything more you guys want to say,
I'm good.
I
Nope.
think we can move on to the most important comic
Uh,
in current
there.
time.
Yeah, let's move on to the stupidest comic of all.
all right. So
The only comic worse than this one is Zakitano's.
all right. So anyway, entry number 4, 2 pages, Mystery Theater by me.
You grow.
Alright, already I can tell it's going to be a terrible comic. It has
Yeah.
the name
Yep.
LJ written all over it.
This is what you said about my Christmas comic too.
I know, it's like think of a seal of approval, only the opposite.
Great.
A seal of disapproval.
All right. So anyway, the mystery of this is actually very quickly based off real events, not in real life, but that happened during production of the movie we're making, Biocraft Chronicles.
I'm not saying it was in real life, but it was in real life.
So, yeah. This is basically a mystery of a guy who sold his company and then killed himself after he sold his company for 500,000 widgets.
And that's the basic core of it, isn't it, LJ?
That is the core of it.
Brutal.
I did my best to put all of what you needed, like you absolutely needed, into the first part, which I think I did, all right.
Yeah.
Because you can actually make a fairly good assumption with this. The turnaround point for the reader is where I'm talking to the two representatives on the phone in the courtyard. So you need to pay very close attention to how the characters are designed and text. This is very imperative. So, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
I think for me, I liked what you did with the story. I liked how it's, at the time when it was released, this is the only comic that actually had like a real ending. The others, the others really didn't have one, except for the Kitchen knows a bit, but But okay, the main the main thing I have to say here though is that I feel that there's just a bit too much information crammed into the first few panels. Not the first part, just the first few panels. I sort of wish you could have just drawn that out a bit more. Made us just get a bit more used to the people here.
Yeah, even done like a third part, even if it was half the size of the rest, would have been.
Yeah.
Yes. I think also it's.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, real quick, the text on the first few panels also does not have an outline. To read in some panels, especially the one of the lava in Minecraft, it makes it a bit hard to read. Mm-hmm. It's kind of odd because later on the text is pretty much perfect. You have everything really well done.
That's one of my problems with the comic too. It's the text, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and actually, one thing that I do have to note or point out is that in the one panel where you draw the big, no sign over the off-the-grid productions building, you actually have the text on a lower layer than the sign, so it actually fades out the text a little bit. Makes it just a little bit harder to read. But other than that, text-wise, I don't have too many problems. The only big thing that kind of stood out to me was the fact that you kind of do like the drawn comic style background, and then you go to a photorealistic background, and then you go to a Minecraft background.
That was my major concern making the comic. The amount of different styles all crammed into one.
Yeah. And while it works to an extent, it right in the beginning panel there, like on my screen, I can see the first, I think 8 panels or so at once, and it just kind of, it bounces around a lot.
Yeah, it's very jumbled.
The first couple panels are a little awkward, and then as you transition further in, you kind of nail it, in my opinion.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was
it's like a construction facility, then the police force, then inside, then a sprite background. And then,
A lot of the backgrounds you have are actually based off real life, and I sort of wish you had kept that all the way through.
He's just trying to
what I like most about this comic is the classic sprite comic style that you had going there. Rig 2.0, basic outline, but you still managed to fit in something special within these panels that made it seem like, oh, this is just your average lazy life of a comic maker comic. Credit to Inner Rig for the sprite. Instead, you have these new styles being introduced. You have an in-depth story going on. Yep. Yeah. I just thought it looked pretty good.
It does.
Overall,
I like the general look it has, and by that I mean your use of you're able to do the photorealistic backgrounds very well. Your text is good except for the first couple panels. The story's good. I'm holding a diamond pickaxe for some reason, which I feel I should note, which is cool.
Yeah.
And some unidentifiable object in my left hand.
Wait, you don't have any object in your left hand. You're kind of just like gesturing with your
thumbs
hand.
up.
I also liked how the last couple of panels went.
Yeah, it's great.
Since I shot the Pierre character.
Yeah.
That was the best part.
Do you think it'd be okay to kind of reveal a little bit about what this was based on?
No, shut up. Next entry.
Oh.
But anyway, just a quick thing to say along the lines of the art thing. I'm not a big comic reader. I usually don't. And when I first started seeing the whole photorealism background plus like rig sprites or whatever kit sprites, I was kind of like skeptical and wondered why the heck somebody would do that, because the difference in style is just so ridiculous. But I have to say that you pulled it off really well, and that the other effects that you managed to do in GIMP, like the blurriness,
it's made in Photoshop.
Okay, Photoshop. I don't know. I'm just used to everybody using GIMP, so they're virtually the same program anyway. But laws. But no, like the whole panels where you're talking to Detective Venom, where Venom is in focus rather than yourself, or you're in focus rather than Venom, or whatever, is quite cool.
Oh, man, thank you. Yeah, this is actually the most extensive I've ever done photorealism. Also, Kahi, you're in this comic too.
Yeah.
I am. Where am I? Oh yeah, I see myself.
Yeah,
in the court,
I'm
the
in
court
the
panel.
comic too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, LJ's having the person of the mystery hit on me.
Yep. I thought it was fitting at the time because that was similar to what happened, I guess.
One thing which I find interesting, and I just have to note with the text, the way you do it, and you like spread it out along, like you have it surround your characters at some parts,
Yes.
You do it exceedingly well in the second part, and it just looks dramatic and cool. And then in the first part, it looks kind of awkward at some parts.
Yeah.
I was worried there.
Lol.
Yeah. It's difficult, really, because I have smaller panels than most people.
Well, I think it looks great at that one panel where you're like, nice try, I know Pierre, blah, blah, blah. And then the one where you have it surrounding his silhouette.
Yeah.
And
the
stuff
only
like
the only thing that I gotta say, and this is just the last thing, is that in the second part, because you added the outline like glow effect that you didn't use in the first part, there are some parts where it actually like
Goes off
blocks.
the panel.
Yeah, or not so much goes off the panel, but it like cuts off parts of the sprite. Like there are a couple parts where it's a sprite's head or whatever, and it's surrounding that, and you can only see parts of it, and it kind of takes away. But anyways.
But yeah, I love the comic. I like the art style. I like the story. I like the mystery and intrigue. And I like the photorealism. The backgrounds are nice. My only flaws are text. And, can't really think of anything else specifically. Like, okay, there's the text problems, and then there's... I got nothing.
I think for me, the one thing I'd say, I wish it had been a bit longer so we could get to, the story could have been a bit more elongated, and we could get to know this stuff as well. So we didn't get this whole information overload at the beginning.
Yeah.
But other than that, I felt it was pretty well done. I liked your style when it comes to photorealism. It looks a little different when you do it than I've seen other people do it. It has this sort of
well, I think
comic-ish. I think it has to do with this kit actually.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I think
you have Rig 2.0.
It's less the kit you use, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost less pixelated than the other kits, so it actually blends better with the photorealism.
But yeah, I'd probably say a contender to that would be Shimuru, but I'm not sure.
Tomorrow doesn't really work well with photorealism. Trust me, I've tried.
Yeah. But yeah, alright. Well, thanks, and that's entry number 4, Mystery Theater. So, on to entry number 5. This is 3 pages long. This is Corruption by Saran. This was where entries started to become exceedingly open-ended. Like it was, make up your mind. What happened? Who did it?
Yeah. I'm just gonna throw this out there, and like while entries such as Kakaru's Monsters in the Storm or whatever let you kind of figure it out for yourself and like decide what you wanted it to be, I think this comic kind of missed the mark with that because it's more of here are your choices and you decide, whereas Kakeru's was like, it could be the mystery, or this could be the mystery, or they could all be the mystery. It's just which one you want to focus on. Meanwhile, this is just here's the mystery.
There are no choices. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't like it because it doesn't give you any choices.
Well, yeah,
it doesn't say it's either this guy or this guy, and you can decide which. It says who killed him, and that's it. That's the question. Who killed him?
Yeah, it's a whodunit, and it could be literally anybody that appears in that comic. It could be Tahu himself. The Matoran could have committed suicide for all we know, and it's just it doesn't work.
Well, you could say that
I have
also
to
applies
agree,
to Power,
sadly.
but yeah.
Like I
This one-
like what he tried to do using like sprites from the physical Bionicle comics themselves to make this comic. I don't know.
Technically not sprites.
The
Technically
drawings,
not sprites. They're just
whatever, sprites.
copied, pasted images.
Touche, but that could technically be called sprites because they're pre-drawn.
No.
I don't know.
Shut
Whatever.
up. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, we got
but-
this guy had 50% of the work done for him.
Yeah, but I mean, I like what he tried to do. It's actually a really cool idea, and I've honestly never seen it done before, but don't quote me on that because I barely go in the comics for him. But you know, it's cool in theory, but in execution, it's not as great.
I don't know. He pulled it off
See, it
exceedingly
worked well
well
for
in
the
the first.
first time.
In the first one, in the first
page,
part,
it works well.
yeah, in the first part he did it exceedingly well.
Yeah.
In the last two, it wasn't really all that good.
I think
Static Lena.
part of the reason for that though is in the first part he like goes through a lot of work to make the pictures that he's using make sense, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
nothing seems out of place, but it's in the second part it's kind of similar, but the biggest thing that I see is actually in that the third large panel there in the part 2 where Tahu's
with
standing
Tahu.
top. It's one of those cases of there's no way he could be standing there, right? So it makes the realism and the effect the comic had is lost from that point on.
I have to say, although I like the idea, the selections this guy did and what he used as a scan base was not the greatest thing. Like, if you look, especially on the first part, we have Vakama's face, how it's really large and, like, JPEGery, you know? You can see all the differing effects and stuff using it, and you can see a bit of white around the selection, too.
Yep.
If you look close enough, you can see, like, pieces of white, and, I don't know, it's a cool idea. I just don't think it was that well executed. I think it could be executed more. That, and like as Keeney said, the lighting is something that really throws it off for me here. But it works really well in the first comic. Later on, it just goes all over the place.
I think
I
the
agree,
the main thing with this comic is it's a great idea. It's an idea that I would actually be interested in seeing more of. But I think for a contest, there just wasn't enough time for it to reach its full potential. And yeah.
Yeah,
I can see it going places if used by the right person. But as of now, I don't know. I'm on the fence about the style of comic.
Yes.
Uh,
LJ's turn.
Oh, actually, Alina, what do you think?
I
think it's stupid.
Tap your mic. Okay,
Oh, that's just static coming from her microphone.
I know. Tapping it makes it better.
Did not.
Resets the equalization.
Can I speak?
Go ahead.
Yes, you're allowed to.
Yeah.
Wait.
The first panel was the first sheet of the comic I really enjoyed the look of, and I kind of liked where it was going, but the next two panels, I just didn't like it. It was way too obvious that it was photoshopped on. And, the person didn't really do too good of a job with the storyline for the next panels. I mean, I see where he was going, but he didn't do it correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with your
Actually,
sentiments, because yeah.
actually, just quickly, I for the whole Photoshop comment there, uh, to add on to the whole thing, the guy managed to get the pictures of the characters perfectly cut out,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that is great. Personally, I think this whole thing would have been way better if he'd used more backgrounds that were from the physical comics themselves,
Yeah,
just to keep
Yeah.
the same sort of art style going.
yeah,
And then it would have made the photoshopping less obvious too.
Yeah.
yeah. He really gets a lot of points from me for the fact that he actually managed to get um these images out of the comics and
Mm-hmm.
make it almost untellable outside of the fact that he used a photo background to make. Sorry, I lost. Excuse me, I need to mute my mic.
What's your train of thought?
Yeah.
No, I just need to mute my mic and blow it up.
And blow my note.
All right.
Okay. Anyhow.
Yeah.
All right. If that's all, Lena, then
Yeah. That's about it.
Alright.
Oh, the word bubbles though. I hate those. Just saying. Going on.
you hate anything you didn't
Oh,
mention
yeah.
the word bubble.
Yeah, the word bubbles. They were too
Well, they
big
need
for
work,
me.
man.
Yeah.
Wait. I wanna. Don't you guys? All right. Anyway.
All in all, comic was meh. Moving on.
All right. So, yeah, that is entry number 5 by Saran Corruption. And now we're gonna move on to another hand-drawn comic. This is entry number 6.
Before we start, I just want to say that this comic deserves
Nothing.
some more attention. No,
No,
I'm kidding.
no, this, I will say this right now, and I honestly mean this. This comic deserves nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. So, entry number 6, 2 pages,
Wow.
Light Keepers by
That's
Brickings.
nice.
Now,
Okay,
I
I'm just-
wanna
Sorry, go ahead,
Like-
LJ.
very quickly want to start this off by saying, the guy who made this entry was a former member of TTV. But, yeah, this deserves literally nothing, because this guy made a entry in his blog basically saying that all of the hand-drawn works needed more attention. When in all honesty, none of the entries were separately getting any attention at all. So,
Yeah.
this is absolutely ridiculous claim. He went on to state that sprite comics
It's
are
not
easy
just
to
that,
make,
it was just-
and
Yada, yada.
it's a whole ridiculous
Yeah.
argument.
The
Uh,
classic argument, but there's no winning it.
Basically,
Nobody
he made a
debating
big deal
it
in his
and
blog, but anyway, moving back on to the comic that he made.
Yes.
I just want to
Keep
say
it
one
separate.
thing
Keep it separate
quickly.
from the comic.
just one thing quickly, and kind of build off of what LJ said about how the comic deserves nothing. We're not saying that, or at least I'm not thinking that because it's a bad comic. In reality, it's a quite nicely drawn comic, and the storyline is actually pretty good. But the problem is, in my mind, this is one of the comics out of the. Honestly, there's only a couple. This is one of the comics that should have been disqualified simply because it wasn't finished. There is no way you can call this comic finished, and if you do, you gotta explain why to me because I'm not seeing it.
That's like
Yeah.
someone making a comic with the only line being "Who took the cookie from the cookie jar?" and then entering it.
Yeah.
Raffle.
Or you know what? To
It's
put
not-
it in, like
Yeah, there's not
perspective,
much work. With
It's like making a mock that's missing.
Like I was saying, the art style is not too bad. I can actually appreciate it. I just feel it's not as much Brickeen's story as it is chapter 1 of whatever story Brickeen is trying to tell here. He sets it up like the first chapter of a murder mystery, like Sherlock Holmes or Conan, or like Agatha Christie book. It just it has you give a location, you have a problem, and you have a character, and he just leaves it like that. At the end, there's nothing to say who actually did it, who actually was the perpetrator, and you have no way of guessing. The reader has no way of guessing. The comic
Might as well
literally
just
ends with
say-
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
might as well
comic
just
literally
say
ends
that
with the guy
Barney
going like,
came
"Who's
in.
it?"
Wow.
Yeah.
A mutated Barney because it had claw marks and there was a
Well,
struggle and
really-
the boat was ruined.
I guess the mystery in the comic, and this is, to me personally, this is the only way you could say the comic was finished, is what exactly happened to them. But there's not enough stuff that you can even use to make a guess at what happened to them. Because it's
Yeah.
like, they're obviously gone, but, did they die? Did they get kidnapped? Were they just, I don't know, attacked by Rahi or something? Like, there's just not enough to work with.
Yes, they were attacked by Rai.
They were attacked by a mutated Barney.
If he had just,
Mutated
Yes.
Kanoki dragon named Barney. There we go.
if
Yeah, he
he
just
had given like a last shot of like some animal flying in the distance or something that we could base off of, I would be much more forgiving to this comic. But it doesn't. It ends with the lighthouse, and even though the title is the lighthouse, but like,
No,
what does it have to do with the story? Who actually did it?
it's like
Is that the
Title.
lighthouse? The
Light
lightkeepers.
keepers.
My bad.
So even
My
that isn't
bad.
an excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I really have nothing else to say then.
The way I see it is that the only way this comic is truly a mystery, because there's just not enough stuff going for it to even make it a mystery yet, it needs another part. Simply put, the only way that it would be redeemable is if it had another part to go with it. But it doesn't, and that just... Yeah.
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 And to
If it-
honestly think that this entry, along with the other hand-drawn entries, did not get enough attention is extremely outlandish. We'll get to why later with City of Wretches, but anyway.
Yeah.
So, Alina, do you have anything to add?
Well, I was going to speak before Kai, but then my internet cut out and everyone stole all of my comments, so no.
Or we can
Wow.
just say, no,
Cool.
not much.
That's
In that case, moving on.
No. Could just say that you guys already said it. Anyway, moving on.
Alright.
Alrighty, which comic is this?
So, let's move on to entry number 7.
Ooh, I
Wow.
love this one.
One page, Call It Your Grave by BFA Home.
This is the comic that had us thinking the most.
Mhm.
Honestly.
This was
Yeah, I will
act-
admit this
at-
one.
personally for me at first glance, this was ridiculously confusing. But
Yeah.
as Keeney proved, there is a lot more to this than meets the eye. I'll let him explain it, actually.
Yeah. So, okay, basically, at first glance, it's like, okay, there's this guy in front of a machine, or the chutes, or whatever you want to see that as. I think that's a chute.
It
Yeah,
is.
that's a chute.
It's Lemaitre.
Right? And then you kind of, see this one panel where there's a guy pulls out a gun and whips it at the guy in the cowboy hat and all that stuff and shoots. Now, it's not necessarily certain who, or actually I guess it is in the very end. It's basically, you don't know who shoots who until the very end of the comic, where you see this pendant drop, and whoever survived goes to pick it up, and it turns out to be the guy with the akaku, and not the cowboy, which made me kind of sad because he's a cowboy. Anyway, picks up this pendant, and on the one side, it's styled like a disc, like a Kanohi disc. And then when he holds it up to his face, you see that there's this weird design on the back. Now, of course, looking at that, you're like, what's the mystery? What's up with this pendant thing, right? Now, the guy who made it, let me just get his name because I don't want to say the guy. BFA actually posted in his blog and said that the back of the pendant disc thing is actually a secret code in binary, right? So all of the black dots are ones, and all of the white dots are zeros. And don't quote me on this because I can't remember exactly what it says, but when I went and translated it, it said something along the lines of curses betrayed. And that basically opens up a whole new element to the comic, because once you know what the pendant says, it becomes a matter of, or even before you know what the pendant says, it's the mystery is, who is this guy? Why did he kill this other guy? And what is so important about this pendant that would make him kill this guy? Once you know what the pendant says, it becomes who betrayed who, and why did they get betrayed, and on and on and on. It's actually a very cool comic once you get into the reading into part of it.
This is one of those comics that I'm on the line about. When it comes to is it a mystery? Is it not a mystery? I have to say that had it not been for the pendant at the end, I would have said no. I don't think it's really all that a mystery. I think you're reading too much into it. But the pendant at the end really got me to thinking, and that's what I think that something that they should have done, other entries should have done, is to make the reader actually think about what's going on. And I guess the biggest drawback for me though was that the pendant was in binary, and the problem with that is that I can't really get it unless I go to his. Honestly, I never would have thought of it unless I went to his blog. I thought it was maybe Morse code or some sort of some sort of other signal, something to do with the Matorn. Because if you look at the bottom, there's to be code repowered. Code repowered at the bottom, right? And if I was Matorn, I thought this had to do something with Matorn. I was really trying to get into all that. So I guess I would have liked it more. The code on the pendant was easier to figure out.
Yeah.
If there was a better clue to it, and it wasn't just binary, you had to go read the BFA Holmes blog. If I had been easier figured out, that would have been a much better thing for me, and I would have put it higher on my list because it actually gave me a good clue.
Even adding on to that, when I first saw that, I thought it was a some sort of design, how some people make, or there's those secret codes where you have to put them up to your eyes or whatever and read it, or it's all weirdness, or the design is backwards or whatever, or upside down, and flipping it around and stuff. I thought it was one of those in the beginning, right? I would have never thought it was binary, and that's one of the kind of sad, I guess, maybe not sad, but it is one of the parts that kind of takes away from the experience of it, because but once I figured out it was binary, and once I translated it, it was it's such a simple code, and it seems so insignificant, but it actually opens up so many more possibilities for the comic and what the mystery actually is. It brought it up to being one of my favorite entries in this contest.
Also,
I think that was the thing about it. What was the message on the? Sorry, Elena. Right, yeah.
Thank you. Probably something that would have made it a little bit more obvious that it was binary is if he had used the Matorn numbers for 1 and 0, not just clear dots or black dots.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on this. I can't quite recall, but I think in his blog he said that was his initial plan, but he ended up running out of room.
Oh.
Lol.
Yeah,
His initial plan was to use Matorn numbers, but he didn't have the room to actually go through and do it to the point where it would be readable.
Yeah, I wasn't
He could have actually put it in with a computer, maybe, but he was trying to go for a very solely hand-drawn.
Yeah. Well, and you look.
I have to say,
I think and sorry to cut you off here, Kahi, but I think the big thing with why there was no room is if you look, some of those circles are really small, and to take a dot and distinguish that as a 1 or whatever the Matorn symbol for 1 is a lot more difficult when you start getting into the more packed areas.
Yeah, this
I have to say though
looks,
that
Let Elena talk, please.
This comic looks like in real life it would be much smaller than what it seems like on a computer screen.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
the Matorn number for 1, I think, is a dot. Well, I wouldn't have minded if he put this a straight line through the middle of the circle. And even though it would mean an I could still get it. It would be easier for me to get than having over black dots, and I'd be like, is it some sort of sequence or something?
Yeah.
What I was trying to bring up before though was the art in this one. I do like the art, but I feel that some parts, the art is just a bit off. I think the parts with when the guy's drawing the gun, and sometimes in the close-up when you can see his eye. I don't know, just a little bit off to me. Like he had a good
Yeah,
design
the
going.
perspective
but
is a little.
Yeah.
Once you
He
get into
wiggled the-
that last
the
panel
line.
especially, his perspective is a
Yeah.
bit off. But
Yeah. I mean, it's just
No.
if you look at the curves, it's like it's sort of wavy. It's not like
Yeah.
a straight curve, it's not a straight line. It's all just sort of jittery. That's
Yeah.
one that kind of gets
But-
it from me.
yeah, I kind of like that though, because that at least for me, right? I can't draw, and sometimes when I see somebody with a perfectly straight line in their drawing, it kind of annoys me because it's like, really, did you actually go and take a ruler or whatever, or did you actually use your computer to touch this up? And then it's I guess just for me, I don't mind it that much. I think it actually makes it a bit more. It gives it that more authentic hand-drawn feel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess you're right. I guess the awkward panel for me would be that one where the guy is falling. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The one where the Toa with the cow is just sort of falling. That one just looked a bit too
Yeah.
awkward for me.
That
stands out.
see, and I don't even know what's going on there. Like, I don't know if he is falling. I don't think he's falling personally because there's no background there.
Oh yeah.
You can't tell if he's
Sure.
falling or if he's turning around. So the way I saw that scene is he turned around, sort of idea, and like whoever betrayed
maybe.
who,
Yeah.
he sees who just killed him, and then whatever happens, right? But
I think it's the tilting that threw me off.
yeah,
He's
the
tilted to, like,
tilting
a
is
opposition.
kind of awkward. But
Yeah.
it's like I understand why he did it, but I guess the biggest thing, the tilting works. It's just that the floor or the ground
Yeah, the point needs to be more
is
pronounced.
away from his feet, right? Like there's
He
that
had
little
had-
line in the
yeah.
corner, and that's kind of the floor or whatever, but you can't really tell if he's standing on it or falling down from it. Anyways,
Yeah. Anyhow,
All right.
LJ,
anyone
Meso, do you
else?
guys have anything to say?
Well, just
'cause
to,
Mishka is stealing the show.
lol. I like the art style. I didn't even know about the binary code until Keeney told me, so now, while you guys have been talking about it, I actually get what it is now, and it is fairly impressive. I'm sad it didn't really progress that far or do that well. Because, yeah, I personally, I like the art, and the story that didn't make much sense to me either, but now it actually does, and it's kind of thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And actually, if you don't mind, I'm just going to do a little closing word on this. Part of the reason that I actually like this comic the most out of all of them, it's not the best comic, but I like the fact that he actually went and, like, the code thing is kind of cool. It's one of those things where it gives you, as a reader, a bit more interaction with the comic, right? Like, if you have everything told to you, that's cool, but if you have to actually go out and figure it out, that in itself is kind of cool, too. And I think if more comics had done something similar to that, there wouldn't have been so many comics that I felt were unfinished or just weren't mysteries.
Exactly.
But-
I think this is a good way to end open-ended mystery because it really made
Yeah.
me think. It really made me want to go out and figure out what this thing was saying.
Yeah.
And to me,
And-
that stood out to me. That made
Yeah.
a lasting memory in my mind.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest part with a lot of these comics is because people did go, and a lot of people did want to do an open-ended comic, and that's perfectly fine. But I think just this is the only comic that closed it up and left it open at the same time, and did it like perfectly almost, right? That's just my opinion, anyways. But
Yeah. All right. I guess that wraps it up for
Moving
this
on.
comic. Venom's going to be departing here, so
Oh no.
see you,
Or dearly departed.
Good luck
Boy,
with the rest
I
of
see
the
that.
reviews, guys.
Bye.
See
Alright.
ya.
Yeah. I got things to do, people to
Okay.
see.
Places to sleep in.
Well,
Yeah.
beds to
But
sleep.
yeah.
Okay.
see you then.
See ya, everyone.
See ya.
So yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, I think we
Hold
should
it.
move on.
Yeah.
Hold it. Can I just say something real quick to be edited out later? Venom, are we going to bring him back for his comic thing at the end? Are we going to wait for tomorrow to do that? Or are we going to review it without him?
We're going to.
Wow.
Okay.
Aw, dang.
All right.
Neat.
We gotta keep the show on the road.
Anyways,
Alright, so
On
let's
to the
go.
next comic, the CLPD.
yes. And this is entry number 8, 2 pages, CLPD Case 51 by Reznaz Nuva. This is actually, for me, I laughed at this one, kinda. Not in a I'm better than you kind of way, but I honestly found some parts of it very funny. But that's just me. Specifically when he was when the main character of this, apparently Windrider showed up in this, and he was kind of like a lower detective, and so the main character was acting as his superior. And I found that so ironically contrasting because Windrider is staff, but
Yeah.
it was I kind of laughed at that a little bit, not mockingly. So
No one said it was mockingly, LJ.
people may
You already clarified that anyway.
people may take it that. You may
However-
or no.
You're a little defensive, LJ. And yeah.
LOL.
However, now that we all know that LG likes this, by general rule, I must now hate this comic.
Aww. Why do you
Well-
hate everything I like?
Because you're LJ. No,
So anyway,
I didn't mind this comic. I think the main thing that threw me off was the art,
Yeah.
personally, because I mean, he uses
yeah.
your basic sprite. Like I guess he uses the kind of backgrounds that you kind of expect to be in a comic. The first thing that glaringly stood out to me was panel 5, I guess it is, panel 4, not counting the title, where that bench is just kind of floating.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
That's the first thing that stood out to me, was that it's just floating. And that kind of ruined part of it for me. But then you get to the what is this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10th panel. See, I even have to count. There's so many panels. Anyway, the 10th panel in, I think, was when it just really died.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like,
I know what you mean.
it's like
Yeah.
you have this comic, and the sprites are kind of 3-dimensional, right? That's the nice thing about the sprites, is that they do have the 3 dimensions and the shading to them. Then you get to this scene, and it's nothing but background, and it is literally 2D. And that really
It is.
ruined it for me, because while
The
in
past,
my opinion,
especially.
the house being 2D is fine, but I found that the path and the driveway or whatever, both being completely flat, kind of ruined it for me.
yeah, it's almost
It's-
like
especially the panel below that, where he adds them sprites in. It even worsens it in my mind. And I don't know if you noticed this, Kahi, but the one sprite with the house,
I know.
961 Kahi. Allen.
I know. I was gonna say I'm contractually obligated to like this house.
Yeah, you are.
yeah.
Well,
Anyhow,
not
yeah.
to like the house, you're obligated to like the street it's on. But anyway.
We're awful.
I have to say, if you noticed in the living room, yeah, the TV, it's on a different angle than the wall, and like it's tilted one way and the wall is tilted the other.
Yeah.
And the wall is not drawn. It like you can see from here. It's not a perfect line, where it really
Yeah.
should be. It looks jarring. It's like
I-
jagged.
Part of that, I think, is the way the sprite kit is set up, but I think the wall, he's got the house set up. The wall is not on a direct 90-degree angle or whatever, and you can't really put it
Yeah,
on a 90-degree
45-degree angle.
But the
45-degree
TV is on a totally different angle. It's like on a more or less, I don't know what you want to call that, but
No,
they're on different
TV's in a
angles, and it's
45-degree
like-
angle, but yeah,
it's
the
like
one
me
is like
taking my TV that I have on my desk here that I'm using as my computer screen, and it's right up against the wall right now. So I look at the wall, I see the TV, and tilting it off to the side. So now suddenly I have to stand by my door, which is like a good 3 feet away, just to see full on the TV. It just doesn't work. It's another one of those graphical things that kind of
Yeah.
It doesn't ruin the comic, but it doesn't make the comic any better.
Another thing with
Yeah.
this panel right here. See that little thing off at the bottom that the Matoran end up looking at? Yeah, that's supposed to be another body. That is ridiculously tiny.
I
What,
think
what,
it's-
what is
I
this?
noticed that.
Exactly.
Wow, I just now noticed that.
Tuxedo. That looks like a tuxedo to me.
Oh no, those are feet and legs. And look
Those
at
are
them.
legs.
Look at that compared to the other two full-sized Matoran. It's.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
just
Yeah.
saw that
I just
Yeah.
saw that too.
because I saw it.
The lamp looks also like a shovel. Just saying.
Yeah. It does. Golden
But,
shovel.
okay, the next thing I have to say though is on the next part. First of all, the backgrounds I feel need a lot of work, especially with the grass. The sky fades into the grass way too much. It doesn't even look like grass, anyways. But you know,
Right,
but
alright.
I think the two big things for me in the second one are one, those trees. The
Yeah,
thing
the
on the side of
tree.
the trees. The tree there, yeah. And two, you never get to see the murderer. And even though that's kind of a small complaint, but like they build up this murder, they even have the guy go inside the house to meet him and to confront him. And you never see the murderer. You see Windrider, he goes in, and Windrider goes in after him and says, "Put your hands up," and you never see who did it. That's
Yeah.
something that just you never get to see a motive. You never get to see why he did it. He just does it. The guy just does it because he's like evil.
Honestly,
I'm
I
not sure.
think-
Maybe I'm not reading it.
No, that to me is personally more solving the case than solving the murder.
I guess it just sort of bugs me though. Like it's not just we don't know who the murderer is. The guy actually goes up to confront him. The main character goes up to confront the murderer, and we never see what happens. That's what gets me.
Yeah, that
And
kind
then all
of.
the time, yeah. And like apparently, from what it says, Wind Rider saved his life. So apparently he was in some sort of danger when he went in. The problem is, if he's in danger, when he shot between the time where he went in and Wind Rider came? Because it's established that there's been some time between that. I don't know. That just really bugs me about this.
Yeah. I
It's
think-
not just something.
Yeah, like
Yeah, go on.
it's a good comic. It's not a, or I guess it's not necessarily a good comic. It's not a horrible comic. It's not the greatest comic. But I think the story is one of the few mystery comics in this that is solved and like solved well, I guess. It may not be the best ending, but it is an ending that works, right? I think just for this comic, for this comic, I think the main things, or the main thing that takes away from this comic, and the main thing that makes me not like the comic is just the little graphical things, like the floating bench and the trees and the off-axis TV and all that. It's just it takes away from the immersion of the comic, I guess, right? Like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of crazy when I read comics.
Yeah.
I rarely laugh, even at the funny ones. But it's like, I don't know. If a comic to me looks glaringly as though it's a comic, it kind of, I don't enjoy it as much. When that's why I like hand-drawn comics a lot, because there's not these obvious little details that take away from it.
I have to say, Keeney's right with the perspective. For me, it's really the graphical style of it. It looks like he's trying to be like a really good comic artist, and in some places he's doing better than others, but it never really comes off as like, wow, this guy is really really good quality, like NR quality or like Dark 79 quality. I don't know what quality he wants to compare himself to, but the high quality he's having just doesn't match up.
Yeah.
And
I
there's
guess-
too many black outlines, I think, in this comic.
You know what it
Bender
almost.
shouldn't-
You know what it almost is? It's like the halfway point, in my opinion, between a really basic noob comic and something like LJ's comic, because he tries to use like that sun thing that he uses is really high res, and the sprites are good, but it's the rest of the background he tries to use paint or whatever he's using to make the rest of this background, and it just does not. The quality doesn't add up. It's like taking a really, really pixelated sprite and putting it in a photorealistic background. They're too different.
Bikini people do
I
that
think
all the time.
I know.
The The thing is that
people
it only
try-
works
people
if you adjust
do
the
it.
lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
If you do it professionally, like if you make sure the sprite looks like it's actually there, like in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. If you've seen that movie, I really love what they did with the animation there, how they made it fit. This one, he's not making it fit. You know, there's no sunlight reflecting off the characters. There's no shadows. There's no nothing. I don't know. He's trying to go for like a really high def, you know, I'm a high resolution graphic quality comic maker thing here going here. It just falls up short to me. It seems like, yeah, he's trying to do both, and like he's halfway between 2004 comic work and like 2011 comic work,
Yeah.
or 2012. I forgot. It's 2012 now.
Lena, what do you think?
What you using, Elena?
Please don't tell me someone kicked me.
I didn't kick you. No one kicked you.
Oh, yeah, we did. We
Alina,
kicked her from the call. We kicked her after she left the call in our minds.
wow. Maybe yours, because you're the one thinking that. Anyway.
Whoa.
Anyway,
Your internet got dropped again. Alina.
Alina, check the recording. Is it still going or what?
It's not going.
It just
stopped
started
immediately.
up.
Okay, good. All right, in that case. So, Alina, what do you think of the comic?
What I remember from when I read it the first time, it wasn't really all that interesting, like, and I couldn't really make sense of it. Of course, I only just read it like one time, and it's a bit hard to read it because right now because I'm sitting on the floor, but the graphics, I really didn't like them. But,
Yeah.
Actually, just quickly to add on to what Elena said about the whole story thing. It has nothing to grab you. It doesn't really grab you, and I think that's part of the problem. Right? You look at Call It Your Grave uses the mysterious pendant and the whole murder part to kind of keep you reading for the one page that it has, right? Or, you know, Light Keepers. Yes, I'm using it as an example, but it actually tries to keep you reading by going through all of the possibilities, right? But this is just... There's nothing that really keeps you reading or makes you want to keep reading other than, you know, to see the end, which is usually not a bad idea, but it just doesn't work in this comic.
Yeah.
yeah, like, it's
Alright.
why I only read it through it once, like, the mystery really wasn't all that interesting to me. It didn't really make me want to try and figure it out. Of course, it could also be because I was also a lot sicker than I was at the time, but who knows?
Yeah. Honestly, I think the ending is what disturbs me mainly. It's a fairy tale ending. You know, ooh, the guy got killed, but we caught him anyway. We don't know who he was or why he committed those murders. Which is why it's more solving the case than it was the mystery. So, anyway, anything else you guys want to add?
I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, it's like a midway comic. It's okay.
Yeah.
Nice shout out to me though. I appreciate that.
Alright, in that case... Wait, Mesa, do you have anything?
Nothing at all to say other than I don't want to be mean, but I really didn't like it all too much due to the reasons you've stated. And what's not, I have nothing new to add to the table and such.
Alright, in that case, let us move on to entry number 9. This is 5 pages long. The McGuy Identity by Didu Dinsane.
You man, I'm McGuy! Brr.
Okay. Whenever I see this background, I can only think Xan Mamoru. I'm sorry. It's just the Xan Mamoru background. It's the classic Xan Mamoru background. You got the gradient blue, you got the gradient floor with the brown, you got this window in the ceiling, and the anime ace with the black colors and the sort of glow.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it's it's really simplistic. I think that's one thing I dislike about the rest of the Shrek comics here. Not so much they use the custom backgrounds. The custom backgrounds are really simplistic and they're not really well done.
Yeah.
Especially the grass background.
Yeah.
The grass one was outside here.
Yeah, and kind of, unlike the other comic, the last one, right? Personally, I don't mind the simplistic backgrounds because there's nothing high res. Nothing in them is high res. Like, the sprites are the only vaguely high res thing, but he does keep it simple throughout, which it seems more cohesive in that sense. You don't have this really high-res sun and then really low-res background for the rest of it, but it's just low-res all around, which kind of... It doesn't make it look pretty, but it does work.
I guess I would agree if it was like all one color, then it's all low-res. I guess the gradients, you're going to use gradients, just try to use them well, I guess. That's my personal agreement with it. But, I don't know.
I have to agree, actually.
I think the one thing about it, if you look down, the close-ups, whenever he turns his head, one, he has interpolations at the nearest neighbor, so it looks really, distorted. Two, he turned into an ostrich. Look at his neck.
Yeah,
Look at
that
his
is
neck.
true.
That's one thing that just really bugs me about this. Like, his neck, and all the close-ups. In fact, if you look at the later ones, there's one where he basically has no body. Like, you see his neck end.
Yeah, that is
which
true.
Which part is it? Yeah,
right. It's the second last panel there in the first part or whatever.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
It's great.
Yeah,
his neck just ends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
that's what I don't know about. The story is okay. Basically, I think the one thing about this is that you have to know more of the characters to get this, to really get this. And I have to say, this would work fine for the advent calendar. This doesn't work fine for a contest. For a contest, especially if you have an outgoing series, you want to start and because you're going to have a lot of new audience coming in for this. You want to give your new audience like some sort of passage to read in. As such, he has a lot of references to Shadonik's retirement. He has a lot of references to Shadonik's old series, a lot of reference to LR and his old series. And if you're just someone that comes in and tries to read this, you're not going to get it, and it really detracts from the story. It's not one of those bonus Easter egg things. You can be like, oh, ha, I get it. Even though you don't like Kahi Avenue. You can get away with that because it's not supposed to be great. But once you get in that, I don't know, it just doesn't really work for me.
Yeah. I had an idea that these were all like comic makers and that they weren't making comics anymore or whatever, but it's cool to throw some Easter eggs in for people who read your comics and like your fans, and they're just the background kind of shout out. But in this case, it's a case of I guess what probably the thing is that he assumed that since it's a comic contest, nobody else would look. And I think that's where a couple people went wrong, because it's not only comic makers and not only comic people who are looking at this contest. There are people from all over BZP looking at the contest to see. It's a contest. Everybody looks at some point or another, which if you're going to do a contest for anything, you have to make sure that if you're using characters from a previous series of yours, or you're using characters that other people know, period, you have to make the people who don't already know about those characters know about those characters. And not, you can't go in with your full cast already there and expect to get every vote, because the people who don't know about your comics are going to be like, okay, who's this guy and why should I know him? Right?
This is really terrible at the end, though. At the end, it turns out the plot twist is that one of his established characters is the murderer, which would work had he been established in this comic. No one knows about him, and people are just like, okay, it's this other dude that works for him. So what, really? What's the big thing here? If you read his comics, you might get a bit better, but don't pull a twist like this into a comics contest when there's not a lot of comics people that are going to read. There's going to be more than just comic people reading this. There's going to be more than people that just read your comic series reading this.
Yeah, and I've never read his comic series, and I'll be the first one to say that I was like, okay, who's this guy, and what's the importance of it? Like, You know, I read it and I was like, okay, cool. There's this random guy that he obviously knows, who's the assassin or whatever. But why does that matter to me, right? Like, I guess the whole comic, the comic starts off as, you know, we want to find out who murdered these people or whatever, right? And it's towards the end, you lose sight of that, and it's suddenly it's not about who killed this guy. It's about nothing, really.
Yeah.
And I guess with, like, what, 5 or so parts, it loses sight of what the contest and the comic were supposed to be about really quickly. But I guess that's what happens when you try to appeal to fans that you already have instead of fans that you might not have yet, right? You got to make a compromise at some point. You have to make your pre-existing fans happy, but you have to make the other people happy, because your fans are not gonna, you know, get you through a contest. They never will.
Yeah.
And
Elena?
despite BZP's track record, that is true, Missa.
Yeah, Meso, Elena, what do you guys think?
Well, I thought that it was all of the above.
You... Okay.
Carry on.
Elena, what about you?
I thought it was the twins.
Oh my man, here we go.
I'm
Elena.
sorry, inside joke.
Yeah. I see Elena's away.
Elena's dead. In that case, it really is.
I
the twins.
never read it. I just looked at the panels and thought, does look
Well, then why-
interesting, and left it.
You're supposed to read them, Elena.
I'm reading the next one.
You're
All right.
supposed to read them all so you can provide insightful commentary.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'll just cut this out very quickly. Never mind. Alright. So, Elena, can you do me a favor? I hate the bug. I don't want to be annoying or anything, but every time shut up. Anyway, every time you unmute your mic, can you quickly tap it and then speak?
Alright.
Thank you. Thank you. Alright. So, now that wraps that up, I guess let's move on to what I'm going to predict is going to be the winner of the contest. Entry number 10, at 11 pages long, City of Wretches.
And King.
City of Wretches and King.
No, it's called City of Wretches, but these guys always think Wretches and Kings. Vampire Borough. Vampire Borough, City of Wretches. This is easily going to be the winner of the contest.
I'm so good. I'm going to go ahead and say it. This is quite literally my favorite comic in the whole contest, and there are multiple reasons for it, but the main one is the art is absolutely beautiful. Not only is it hand-drawn, but it's, like, slightly inked, even,
Yeah.
which
Here's
great.
my thing of the art, right? It's not just really beautiful, it has atmosphere.
Yeah.
He brings something to this contest that no one else has brought, and that's atmosphere. I can literally feel the city. I can feel what's going around. I can feel all this grimminess and this sort of underground feel that's going on to it. This is a criminal city, right? These are all villains coming out from they're the Makuta, they're the Paraka, they're the I don't remember who else is in here, but you know what I mean, right?
There's a Von Nebula. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. When I was reading through it really quickly in the last 5 minutes, I really enjoyed it. Like, I loved the characters, the drawing style. The only thing that I'm not satisfied with is the ending, and that is because he did it of how he built up such a great mystery that you just want to know how it all happened. And he chose
I think-
the best place for a cliffhanger, and I hate him so much for that.
I think personally, though, and, I don't know Vampire Borough, so I could be totally wrong, but I think, honestly, I think that this comic could have gone on for another 10 pages and still been just as good. But I think it was the way it ended, it was the best place to end it, and it was ended possibly in part due to a lack of time and possibly even just a lack of the will to continue it on to a complete conclusion, which the way he ended it, I really don't care what it was. I just don't.
My favorite page of them all is page 6, because in page 6 is where the best of the entire comic is in here. You have this, you have a place. It's not very well detailed, but it has very high atmosphere. The close-up on his face, very well done. The lines have very good weight, very good expression to them. The shadows are amazing. The way he shades all around the place is how it's mostly black. It reminds me of Sin City, Frank Miller's Sin City. That's honestly, and the cross hatching especially on the shadows, and all around the characters. The cross hatching is very, very nicely done.
Yeah.
And I guess
my biggest secret though is the text. The text. I wish he had given it something with the text so we could figure out who was talking. I think in the first panel, I could not tell who's talking what, and I think the plot would have benefited so much had he just been able to give us an indication of who's talking.
Oh yeah,
well, I
definitely.
think, and this is just the way I see it. I think all of those kind of caption boxes, those are all this guy who's going to control the city. I almost want to say Pterodax, because that's the closest thing in the actual canon Bionicle universe to this guy, right? And I think that's all of the captions are him talking more or less, right? And I guess to add on to what you said earlier about atmosphere, it really does have a great atmosphere. It's dark. It's it's really got that almost.
It's darker and edgier.
It's dark and gritty, and it's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have never seen in my life a comic go to this extent to add atmosphere to it.
Right? I have, but I read a lot more comics than you do.
Well,
not on BZPower though.
But not on BZP. This is the first comic I've ever seen on BZP for a contest, no less. This is the kind of quality comic that I would expect out of somebody who's been doing a series where they have all the time in the world to do it. Not something that's done in 3.5 weeks for a comic contest. This is ridiculously high quality for the amount of time given, and I love it.
The ink, the black and white, the style he went with is perfection.
Yeah.
I have to say, the style he decided to go with, how he decided to render all the characters. I think this is one of my favorites, definitely.
Also,
and I
it doesn't look
really
unnatural.
do think it's wrong.
Also, here, one complaint I have is that all of the characters are wearing suits. I know they're supposed to, in that it's, but I think Bionicle, I don't think of them as wearing suits. I think of them as just biomechanical beings.
Yeah.
Be the best suit wearers.
Not every character is wearing a suit though.
Yeah.
Page 5. Page 5. He's not wearing a suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it
right?
Yeah.
Put the suit on me.
Well, he has
That's
pants on
like-
underneath and a belt. I think.
Yeah. But no, okay.
Yes.
Shut up, Mesa. It's a suit, but there's also this. Shut up, Mesa. It works simply because the way he's drawn the characters is if they didn't have that clothing level to them, there'd be nothing. It'd be like a silhouette, literally.
And by clothing level, you mean suit.
Yeah, I think.
Oh my god!
And there's our metal for the episode. I think he went for a more organic feel on purpose.
Definitely.
So incorporate those suits.
Yeah. Actually, I like what he did with that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I like it better than if he just kept it
like biomechanical.
I do really. I think personally, especially with the atmosphere and just even the setting is almost like, I don't know, 50s crime drama sort of style, like LA Noir almost, right? I think with the atmosphere coupled with that, having the bionicle armor, like the traditional set-like armor, would have totally ruined it.
Could have, yeah.
And
Well, I don't think it
because
totally ruined it,
partially,
but it subtracted a lot part of it.
yeah, it would have subtracted a lot from it, and maybe that's partially because bionicle armor is ridiculously hard to draw properly, and that is the truth. But it's just, it gives it a much more city-like feel, I guess. Because I guess even though it's bionicle, just when you think of a city, you don't think of a lot of people walking around in full body armor, right? That's reserved for like the police force. In which case, really, whoever, I don't know if that's supposed to be Axon, I can't remember who that is, but even then, he's got sort of a clothing-ish thing, but it also looks like armor in some ways, which works.
Yeah, and by
Right,
clothing-ish thing, you mean suit, right?
I'm going to avoid that word for the rest of this thing.
You already are. You're saying clothing-like outfit. No,
Because he's not wearing a suit.
Yeah.
Show me where he's wearing a tuxedo, and I will start calling it.
I didn't say tuxedo. I said a suit.
You just said suit again, by the way. Alright, anyway.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah, we got a good bunch of good points here, but either way, this will easily win the contest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
it's a
thing,
great comic.
it is. One thing I'd really like to point out is the, I think it's 7th? No, it's 6th. Yeah, it is. The really dark panel where it shows what I assume is Hakan, right? But here's the part where the whole comic started coming together for me, was at this point on, because I assume it's Hakan because of the like coat and the hat and all that stuff, right? But it shows what's his name? Antros.
Yeah.
Which I found really cool. And once that happened, I, for one, immediately recognized that this is Metru Nui, right? The Colosseum didn't exactly, force that into my brain at first, but it's like, okay, this is pretty much obviously Metru Nui, which the Makuta are trying to take over, which goes back to the whole guy in the Colosseum trying to, saying how the city will be his and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Right? It really starts to bring the comic together, and it's I think from that point on, the comic starts closing itself, which is great.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Alright, definitely, almost definitely gonna win. And I think as a prize, they should send him a suit.
I think I think that would be great. A 50s style detective long coat.
Anyway.
Not a long coat, suit.
Yeah.
No. Just
yes.
Shut up. Okay, fine. I'm suit. Anyway, I don't want to say nothing bad about this comic. There is one thing that I will say. When Krika was introduced, I enjoyed the scene. It was a cool scene. The one thumbnail was great. The detail on Krika's head, yes, it's a head, not a mask, is amazing. The only thing, and this is the only glaring part, and this is just personal preference myself, the scene where it shows like the upper half of Krika's body, and he's got the whole 2 fingers and a thumb thing going on. It looked kind of weird to me, and it just seemed weird to me, and it's not a huge thing, but it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I had to point it out because I don't want to make this really positive, because I said something bad about everything else. I have to say something bad about this one.
Yeah.
However hard it may be.
Nothing is flawless. Nothing.
This is about as close as it gets in BZP.
So, That was
Yeah.
Vampire Borax, City of Riches and
Yeah.
I mean City of Riches. So anyway, let's move on to entry number 11. At 3 pages long, at the end of the tunnel, Uncle Krekka. And this came in like last day
Literally.
of entries. So this is an extremely
I remember.
well-made entry.
This is
Okay, I have to say,
I
I
read
remember
this.
being here.
Beautiful.
I remember being here in the call, right? And we were just talking, and I'm trying to get my entry done, which didn't actually get done, but anyhow. So I'm getting trying my entry done. Ben's trying to get his entry done, and Bard just comes on. He's like, "Oh man, Uncle Krekka just entered the contest." And I went and I took one look at this, and I was like,
No,
That's it.
I said that.
"That's it." I mean, I
One of
said that
guys,
too. Someone said it. Basically, it's just my initial thought of this is really beautiful. The art here is really
Yeah.
beautiful,
Oh yeah.
and especially the ones the trees and the leaves around the Toa head there.
Yeah.
Gets me every time. I've tried to do something like that before. I don't even know where to start when it
Yeah.
comes to making really like a detail like that.
Yeah,
So-
that is honestly, I love the art style. It is absolutely beautiful, like brings a tear to my eye sort of style thing. But I personally didn't like the comic all that much because this is a classic case of the whole hand-drawn thing. You know, like comic makers in general, especially sprite ones, LJ and Kahi can both say that they've said this. They don't want hand-drawn comics to be judged based on art alone.
Yeah, by the artwork. It's like judging a book by its cover, which
Exactly.
yeah, that's difficult to say, but yeah.
But you know, it's like from an artwork standpoint, it is an absolutely beautiful comic.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's also a classic case of judging the comic more on the art than the story itself or the comic itself.
I
And that-
concur.
And kind of, I don't want to be like horribly mean, but in
You're
a
not.
lot
You're
of
being
ways-
a
Shut up.
teeny. Okay.
in a lot of ways, Uncle Krekka almost kind of disappointed me with this comic. Right, his work is so beautiful and so awesome. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed with this simply because it's got this great start, this like beautiful first page. The second page, they're going into this temple to whatever, who knows what we'll find, and then this third page, it's completely empty. All right,
Yeah.
there's nothing there. They turn around and go back, and then you see the pedestal in the middle, push to open tunnel. And while that's cool from the standpoint that, oh, look, there's a tunnel there, what does it lead to? There's just not enough to it. The art was great, the story was kind of lacking.
Yeah.
And granted, with Uncle K's art style, there was no time for him to do anything more with this. But at the same time, it kind of, it's not so much a mystery as it is. Yeah, it kind of missed the mark of the contest, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If it was about irony, like you've been saying a lot, Kai, if this contest, well, the point of it was to make an ironic comic, this would be perfect, right? But I think just as far as mystery goes, it misses the mark just a little bit.
Here's my point of view on it. I liked that it actually had an ending. Like, it gave this open end, not really an open ending, but I guess so. You never really know what's at the end of the tunnel, but you do have some sort of idea. There's a definite ending, and unlike the only other comic that's really done this is City of Wretches. This one, it actually has a definite ending, one that I can actually look at it and not feel cheated by. I guess I felt cheated by it, especially Burkeen's entry when I read it.
Cheated by LJ.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just open. Not Eldest, I mean Burkeen's. It was just open.
We're talking about the
This one,
open-ended
I like.
comics here, guys.
Yeah.
Not
This
not.
one, it has this thing at the end. I can actually see where it's supposed to go. I can see sort of the irony in this. It does sort of fail on the mystery part. I I guess for what it sets up to accomplish, I am wondering what the mystery. I mean, the mystery is easily set. What's inside of it? And for the second page, I'm really getting to what's inside it. And the third one, they're like, oh, I don't think there's anything inside it. Turns out there is something inside it after all. I think even though the story's not complex, but I give it a pass. It doesn't get a fail from me. I give it a pass in that regard. And because of, I think like I can see the effort that went into this art.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When I initially said, yeah, I said that I don't want to judge, something by its art, and that's still true, and I'll still hold on to it. I think, I was sort of expecting, like, there's been other hand-drawn comics in the past, and they weren't, except for, like, maybe Takamiya's, they were okay. I mean, they're only half there. And I was really hoping that people weren't doing, like, oh, this is hand-drawn, it's automatically going to be better than anything else. But this one, I can honestly say, if people just voted for this art, I don't know if I can honestly say I really do blame them. I wish they would do better, but I can't really blame them for saying it, because this is a really beautiful piece of artwork.
Yeah.
There's been so much attention paid to detail. Just when they're going underwater, you see the bubbles going around, the colors are saturated, you get this sort of the light effect coming from the surface. It's amazing. And I can completely understand why someone would vote for it just for the art. I can honestly sympathize with this. If people did do this, I could sympathize. As opposed to, like, people just going because.
This is a case where, like, the plot and the art are kind of half of the same puzzle, per se. And while he's lacking in one department, he makes up for it leaps and bounds in another.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, it's like Avatar, the movie, right? A lot of people liked Avatar. They wanted to see it because of this amazing graphics, amazing 3D, amazing everything. Plot, the Avatar's plot, Pocahontas in space, environmentalist twist.
Yeah.
But the graphics, I have to admit, were incredible. The graphics in Avatar were really nicely done. The same thing here, even more so for the graphics, though, from Uncle K's side. The graphics are just, I can't stress how great they are.
Yeah. Still, though, while I can say that the graphics are so good, I can't really blame people for voting for it either. Kind of like Keith said, it does kind of disappoint me because, his work is so good. It could have been a little bit better if he had put a bit more time into the plot aspect.
Yeah.
I can summarize my entire thoughts on this comic in like one sentence. Uncle K semi-disappointed me with his excellent mediocrity. There you go. That's it.
All right.
Wow.
Well, okay, I just after that randomness, I'm just gonna say
This is
that it was though, just a little bit. I bet you some people will smile and then they'll remember it's Meso and they'll cry. But but anyway, like I think the main thing is that Uncle Kreka, either he's insanely smart and he played off of the fact that a lot of people are going to go into the voting for this contest and vote for the prettiest comic, or he just focused more on the art than the story.
Yeah.
Because either way,
I think he might have tried to focus on his strengths, because he's really well done for his artwork. I don't know how good he is at storytelling, and he might have thought, I might be hit and miss at the storytelling, but art I know I can pull off, and I'm going to focus all on art, maybe just do a kind of a little story, see if that carries me. Might be. I honestly him rather do that than like playing to his weakness, just because.
Yeah. Anyway.
Lena, you had things?
I lost track.
Yeah, that happens.
Supposed to do that, Elena.
That happens when Kai says,
Well, then talk now, LJ.
The entire first half of this, and I was like, all right, it's my turn. Time to take it all the way. Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
That's true.
Anyways.
Hey,
LJ, you
ever noticed this?
No, you guys basically summed it up for me. Lena, you have any finishing thoughts before we move on?
No.
All right. All right, and that was Uncle K at the end of the tunnel.
I liked it.
Entry number 12. This is 7 pages long. The Mystery of the Toa by BioCryptid21.
I didn't like it.
Come on, guys.
I mean, at first
LJ got some strong views.
I didn't like it.
on this.
I mean, at first he had a pretty good mystery going on, but as soon as I noticed that it was just a recap of When Matoro found Kopaka, I was immediately disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing is being Kopaka really, and like blatantly being Kopaka. It's not like he finds something on the beach and it's really ambiguous, and at the end you find it's Kopaka. Then I'm like, okay, then I can sort of get that. This, it's blatantly Kopaka, and you know that for the entire thing, and all the time throughout, I'm always thinking whatever the character is doing, I'm always like, it's Kopaka, it's Kopaka, it's Kopaka. All whatever he's trying to do.
Yeah.
That's my main thing. You know.
Like, the art style, it's not the prettiest hand-drawn comic out there. It's not bad. The main problem I have with it is that it literally is just a rehash of the first Bionicle comic from Matoro's perspective.
Yeah.
And, well, that in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. The execution was a little off. Because, for me, at least, right? I can't speak for everybody, but this comics contest, I think, both with Uncle K's entry and this, the mystery was more for the characters. The characters were the ones who were the target of the mystery, not the readers. And I think that's what it kind of loses track. Because when you already know the exact ending of the mystery and how everything plays out, you can literally look at the first page of this comic and see that, okay, his name's Matoro. He'd like to share what's known as the mystery of the Toa. And pretty much from that point on, right, maybe you read page 2. You don't need to read the whole comic to get what's going on. You don't even need to read the end of the comic to know what happens.
Which
right?
is kind of not a good thing.
And that's where it dies, because it just doesn't...
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
I think another thing would be page 4's background. The palm trees patterns, especially. The palm trees just get me.
I hate palm trees. I'm just gonna say that right now. I despise palm trees.
But LJ, they're be the best.
No. I despise palm trees.
Palm trees are
nope.
Okay, go.
But anyway, my personal problem was a lot of the perspectives. Sorry, I meant portions with things, specifically that of Matoro's neck. What is this? Is he like a bodybuilder and his neck has become the size of like his lower leg or something? It's huge! And it's like a 3-part leg!
His arms especially are just so long. And I know that's how the original Mactauran were sort of like, but they're just elongated compared to his tiny feet. I mean, they're like gorilla sized, right?
I don't have much of a problem with the arms. I have a problem with his neck. Ugh! Another thing I have a problem with is their extensive knowledge. Like Matoro. There was Paraka. How do you know about Paraka? There were never rumors about Paraka. They never knew about Scotty.
That was the thing. It was so pointless though. The Paraka are never seen ever again. Why put them there?
Yeah, it's
so pointless.
Yeah, I saw a comment, and sorry to interrupt you guys, but I saw a comment where a guy had said this comic would have been infinitely better if it was a Paraka. And I think that's totally true. Yeah. Because if it had actually turned out to be a Paraka, that suddenly gives you the whole idea of, well, obviously if it's a Paraka, what would have happened if the Paraka actually had come to Matanui instead of Voyanui, and instead of getting the Toamata, we got the Paraka. And they were our favorite heroes. That would have been a good mystery. That would have been a good plot twist. But instead, the Paraka are thrown in there for literally no reason other than to...
filler.
Well, literally no reason.
It's filler.
Right. It's... The way I see this comic really is... It's about... What is it? 7 pages?
7 pages.
Yeah, 7 pages. The way I see it, it's about 3 pages of story and 4 pages of filler.
Yeah, it's a lot of padding.
One thing that I'm going to compliment him on is how he incorporated Erie into this.
Yeah.
Because I really like that.
That is cool.
Yeah, and how he did the backgrounds for Kokoro. That was especially well done. And
The chorus backgrounds are actually better than the beach backgrounds.
yes,
My main problem with this is the art style. I know that other people I've heard that don't really have that big of a problem with it. Maybe it's just me, but I guess for me it's really sketchy. Like I said with the one of what's it? What was that other one? Call It Your Grave, right? It has that sort of like shaky style to it. The problem is though, it's drawn in a tablet, but none of the lines have any weight to them. They're all drawn the same thickness, right? They don't have varying thickness. They don't have like a, like how they have like a small thickness and they go to a bigger one, like I forget the correct term for it. But it looks unnatural. The lines are not smoothly. It just looks kind of like an old drawing, like a drawing that I would do when I was like around 8 or 9 or 10.
Well, you know what it is it's one of those drawings where you press as hard as you can for every line.
Yeah. I used to do that a lot. It just kind of irritates me, I guess, a bit. I feel that if Bio had just taken the time and like made it more curved and made it more lightly and naturally made it more like artwork, it would have turned out to be a much nicer looking comic.
Yeah. And like I personally don't have too big of a problem with that because there's a lot of tablet art out there and pretty much all of it ends up like that. That's one of the drawbacks of using a tablet is you can't vary your lines quite as easily. But the main problem I have art-wise is that he's got these drawn characters, this copy-pasted or at least used a brush to make the backgrounds. So then you've got these like hand-drawn characters, sprite comic-like backgrounds, and then you've got your odd MNOG screen thrown in, or at the very end it actually is parts from the physical comic. And I think that it's all over the place. It's kind of like that one sprite comic we reviewed, because I can't remember its name and I don't feel like looking it up. Where it kind of goes all over the place, but to a greater
extent. Mine, thank you.
I'm talking about the other one where they use the high res and then the low res and then whatever res.
Oh, that one. Like
yours pulled it off well, LJ. I'm talking about the ones that don't pull it off well, where it like uses high res, then low res, then hand drawn, then comic, right? It's too crazy. Yeah. It goes all over the place.
Too contrasting.
Oh, that might have
been too contrasting. It makes it very pop. I guess for me, maybe just about for me, because for me, the whole thing with the tablet was making smooth lines. That's what really separates great tablet artists from just people that have a tablet. For me, it's sort of separating the drawing the line between men and boys, and I guess that's what really irritates me. This is a personal opinion thing, really. And, I know a lot of people don't share this opinion. I just wanted to put that out there. Maybe it's something to work on and look into the future. I don't know. But Piranha would have been an awesome twist, though. Had like, he'd come up from behind, and like, he just turns around and, fuck, like, yeah, I'm Toloko Paka. Or whatever.
Yeah, I am.
That would have bumped it up very high on my list. I'm not gonna lie. That twist would have bumped it up very high. Because if you build up someone's expectation of something and you subvert it at the end in like a shocking way, that lingers with them. That really sticks with them. And I just felt he had a really missed opportunity here.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, Alina, what are your thoughts on it?
I gave my thoughts earlier. I'm the one who I started it off.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, I forgot. Sorry.
Glad to see you're on the same page as all of us.
Yes, I am. I'm on a different dimension. Anyway, so.
Oh yeah, man, different dimension.
So, that about wraps it up for that one. Let's move on to the final entry.
This is beat a bet.
Oh my man, this. Out of the entire contest, this got one vote. This is entry 13, one page, Yumi Island by Takulo Towa of Gales.
Poor guy.
What's the point of this?
It's Yumi Island.
It's stupid.
He feels heavy, his head feels fuzzy, relax deep breaths. Looking around, he realizes he's underwater.
He's drowning. Ah! Welcome to Yumi Island. I've been dying to meet you. That's it. This, okay. You know what? This is not a mystery comic.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it
You
is.
have to realize what is the face and why has he been dying to meet you? That is
Yeah.
the mystery. You have to
Once
not
you get
okay,
into looking
okay,
into
no.
it deeper, once you get to looking into it deeper, you get all these sorts of mysteries. Who's the face? Why is the Matoran drowning? Where is he?
What importance is the jellyfish? Oh,
Leave me alone. Why are there jellyfish glowing
Did
in
the
yellow?
jellyfish shock him? Did the jellyfish shock him?
Why can
Is
he
he
see the
delusional?
sun?
Is he
How-
hallucinating?
He's how is he, underwater and yet using Earth powers? No, like, okay, really. Oh, seriously. It's a mystery, yes, but it doesn't work. It's
there's nothing
It's
there.
not, it's not a mystery,
Yeah,
man.
it's-
That's what I'm saying. I said that about like the other soup. It's not a mystery. It's not.
it's really what it is. The only mystery is why is this face dying to meet you? But really, we have no idea who the island is. We have no idea who this guy is. That doesn't make a mystery. And that's what I think he at least missed. Not knowing something does make it a mystery.
No, RFE is. This comic is just the win.
I really,
No.
I really
Like-
just like. All right, you notice the panel when everything's yellow, right? You can see
Yeah.
how his strokes are like all over the place. Instead of
Yeah.
just going in one direction, he goes like all over the place. That's like number one mistake you make with crayons.
Yeah, this is made with crayons, which is what really annoys me.
It's
Yeah.
I know,
unique.
right?
Give him that.
It's not a
It's
good
not
unique.
It's
It's
not
not a
unique.
good uniqueness.
Listen, there's a difference between being unique and doing something that's horrendously bad. That the only reason you're the only one that's doing it because everybody else recognizes it's a stupid idea.
I'm not so much worried about the art style, whatever. He probably drew that better than I could, but still, the biggest problem that I have with it is that to me, it's the opening comic of a series. You know, though, how some comic series have that one comic that, starts as the base for everything, and that's like kind of it's not the first comic, but it's the prologue sort of idea comic, and it's just at the top of the page, always, forever, never,
It's like
amen.
the pilot of a television
Tell-
series. You know?
Yeah, it's like the title
It's like
page.
the pilot of Lost.
Yeah. And
Basically, this is the pilot of Lost. What am I doing here? Welcome to
So-
I've been dying
so-
to meet you.
He's been dying. So, literally doesn't work unless there's more to it, which there isn't. So, really, the only way that you could, take this and flip this around is say that he drowned. He's now in Yume Island, which is the heaven of the Bionicle world, and this guy's trying to meet you.
And that's us. Maybe it's
I
Matora.
don't-
Maybe that's exactly what it is.
No.
Actually, hey, well, he does have the mask.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, but
And the-
okay, this is the thing, alright? I don't
What?
think it's Bionicle. Judging by the face at the end, I don't think it's the Bionicle version of Heaven. Just saying.
yeah.
Well, what if it's Pterodax?
What if it's
What if
Pterodax?
it's-
I've been dying to meet you, Matora.
Pterodax is
Pterodax is
also
dying to meet you.
Okay, look at this way, alright? Pterodax is dead now. If
Chunks
Pterodax
taking
is
up his-
dead, where would he go? Where would Pterodax go if he's dead? And why would he have been dying to meet Matoro?
I don't know.
after he killed him?
Maybe Matoro's obviously been sent by the great spirit Matanui to deal with Makuta in the afterlife. And,
This- if we just
Makuta's
look
going to have to
into
be
the story-
drawn with a massive chunk taken out of his head. And it's just going to make this crazy comic that nobody understands ever, and it's drawn in crayon, and it makes me cry.
Yeah,
Oh,
there.
Lena?
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just keep moving on.
You guys want to say?
Well, about your guys' comments about this possibly being a Bionicle version of Heaven. With the face at the end, it looks really, really
Already
goofy.
Already said.
Yeah,
Like Goofy?
it looks so goofy.
Mm.
It's so so hilarious. Like, I would not be able to take that face seriously if I was in heaven or Hades with that face.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
I've
that's
been
amazing.
dying to meet you.
Yeah. Well, I'm dying to finish up the review on this comic. Sorry. Nah, but
LOL.
all joking aside, I will give him that. Like Messa said, it is unique. It is fairly unique, and for some parts, I do like the style he's
Yeah.
into.
Yeah, it's a really cute style. Even though he
Yeah.
probably wasn't trying to go for cute. But that's...
But you call
that's-
everything cute.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
call
you-
my comic cute, and it was there's death. There's
You would call a dead dog lying on the ground cute. And that's how
wait,
horrible
dead.
you are.
Sorry. I'd like to have anything else to say. Alright. That wraps it up on Yumi Island. All in all,
I love it.
yeah, this has been an interesting contest. I'll say that. It's first comics contest. And at the time of this recording, the final polls were just put up, and there were 6 people that made it in. Uncle Kreka, Tavakai, myself, Biocryptid, Vampire Borak, and Brickins.
How did
6
Crippy...
entries. Huh?
How did Crippy get in? He was just
Hey,
You
rehashed.
got voted in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was actually the
Voted
highest.
in.
He was the highest voted of his poll.
It made me sad because I wanted to call it your grave.
Yeah.
But no, we got this stupid rehash.
Well, either way. So
My faith in you is dead, BZP. My faith in you is dead.
the 2 entries that made it in from each poll at the time of this entry was Biocryptid's Mystery of the Toa, Bricking's Lightkeepers, Vampire Borak's City of Wretches, and Uncle Kreka's At the End of the Tunnel. And the 2 wild cards were me and Tavakai, which I'm honestly surprised that we both made it in, because we were both in the same poll, but we tied our votes. And so I honestly think if we did not tie, it would either have been one or the other.
Yeah.
It was a really close race between both of you. And the other poll, there wasn't that much of a close race. So.
So all in all, it's going to be an interesting end of the contest. It's going to be interesting seeing the winners, seeing what happens. So yeah, I will suggest we, oh wait.
I suggest we. Oh wait.
I was waiting for that to happen. I also was going to remind you last minute.
Yeah.
We have 2 comics we need to very quickly review. I do not know if I will put this in a separate audio file, but if so, welcome to the separate audio file for the honorary entries that didn't make it in time. Sad face.
Because we can.
We must, because they have a gun held to our head.
So,
I'll
let's do a
just
little bit.
gonna review this. I'll kill him
Guys,
dead.
let's a little. You should give a little backstory to what we're about to talk about because
Alright.
you're involved.
Yeah. It was me and Venom on. I'll post the thing to my Photo Bucket album. Me and Venom were working hard on our entries as usual, and like we were up to the very last minute.
Hey,
And what?
this is a private album.
I know. I made it that way so people can just go in after hearing this because I want to release the parts myself. The password is. I'll just type it down.
Yeah, don't tell him.
Hey guys! So,
That's a very interesting and very
I know what I'm doing.
password there, Kai.
I know, right? It's a very ironic password.
anyway.
Okay, anyhow, we were working extremely hard at the last moment, and unfortunately, we did not get enough time. Both our comics were very close to being done. Venom finished his later. I still have to work on mine because midterm week, but I have spring break. I'm working on that fully now. Basically, though, we needed we were just about an hour or 2 away from being finished, so we were really close to being done. But we, since we didn't make it, we decided to include this here since our comics were obviously so good, they would have beaten any competition that these poor losers had to deal with. Anyhow.
You totally did not
Also, we're
sound like that.
extremely submit.
Yeah, you
I know,
totally
right?
don't
If there's
sound
one
like...
thing I admire about myself, it's my humility. I will admire my own
Awful.
humility.
I admire humility there, Kahi. It's very humility.
Be the best, be the
Man,
best.
I just sort of realized I can delete this folder right after we're done. So
Kahi,
yeah.
there's a problem, at least for me.
What is it?
I don't know about you guys. I can't read this.
I can't zoom in.
I can zoom in,
Yeah,
but I
but
can't
you
read the text. I downloaded the file for the first one. I still can't read the text.
The heck?
I can't read
Wow.
the comic.
This is what? Alright, next side.
Oh, they-
Such a great comic. What's the mystery? I don't know.
This is quite the beautiful comic. The text is a little hard to read.
So wait, are we going to review Kahi's or Venom's first? Because Venom
I thought
finished.
we were gonna do Venom. Yeah, Venom's finished of his. I guess I'll just upload mine from Mod Shows real quick.
All right.
Since
Well,
that
you
didn't
know,
work. In the meantime, for those who are wondering, the password was could have won. Yeah.
Could have won. Could have won. Could have.
Kahi,
so anyway,
with that password alone, you show intense, amazing humility.
oh my man,
It doesn't feel.
it touches my heart, and I want
I
to
know.
stop.
It does. It truly.
So anyway, let us go on to Venom's comic. I do not know the title for this comic, but I'm gonna go ahead and guess it is The Legend of Rumi. Is it just me or is it Rumi in here?
You're a funny guy.
Anyway, so this comic takes place. By the way, it is a whopping 12 pages long. If it had been entered, it would have easily had the most parts to it. So, let's get right into it. It takes place in Metru Nui, and it starts off with Matoran, I guess, whose name is Rumi. Because we actually never learn a lot of their names. Or any of their names. So,
That's a big
Or-
problem. This series.
so yeah. The comic takes place in Pometru. And starts off with Rumi talking to his pals. And then an explosion happens. And whoa, he gets in trouble. So, as it goes on, we meet characters such as Pterodax, Lacan, Duma, etc., etc. And then Lacan and Tuyet, just don't know. And basically, attacks start happening throughout the island of Metru Nui. And by the end of the comic, a Gamatorn gets involved, and they end up in the Colosseum, and they are finally allowed to clear their names. We finally figure it out that Pterodax, this entire time, had been mind-controlling the Matoran. The actual bad guy, who was an Onumatoran. He had been mind-controlling this Onumatoran in order to frame these other two Matoran. And at the end, this actually ties in with Legends of Metru Nui, which I thought was extraordinarily well done by Venom. So, the artwork, the graphics are actually extremely well done. It is somewhat photorealistic, and he pulls it off extremely well. Because he uses the footage shots from the actual movie Legends of Metru Nui.
Yeah.
And then other shots. And he pulls it off very nicely. It's in RZ. And yeah. So that's my take on it. It was an extremely deep mystery. I really would have loved if this had been entered.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have been
Honestly,
great.
I love what he does with the photorealism. He did something which I wish I could have done. And I would not wish I could. I wish I had done in my entry, and I might go back and do this. But he does colored lighting. When it comes to the lighting effects, he does colored lighting, and that's something I really admire about that because it looks really well done, really well handled. I guess there are only two things that I have that that could be a problem with this comic. First off, the backgrounds. Many of the backgrounds he ripped from Legend of Machinui, which is good for some, but on others you can glaringly see that they are ripped, and they have this sort of like JPEGery quality to them, if you know what I mean.
JPEGery.
It's just this sort of thing to them. It is what kind of very. And for the first panel, it's most obvious in the first panel. Not so much obvious in the other ones, but in the first panel, especially since the first impression, that kind of just got me off base a little bit. But otherwise, it's handled. The graphics are very, very well done. The lighting effects are well done. They have the shadow effects, the classic Venom, sort of like weird ambience design, spectral, whatever effects, those kind of things. And then the second would be the word bubbles. As everybody here knows, I am a stickler for correctly done word bubbles. And if they're not correctly done, I mean, I don't mind some leeway, but there's something about these word bubbles that it just makes it a bit harder for me to read. I think some of them are just misaligned, or like the text doesn't fit properly, or it's too far apart. I guess it is kind of nitpicking, but word bubbles for me are a very immersive part of of a comic. It's the dialogue. It's what really helps to further the story. And if you do choose to use word bubbles, I think that it'd be great if he at least had some curved tails to them, or at least made it textually fit inside the bubble. Make the bubble fit around the text, not the text around the bubble. If you know what I mean. Yeah.
I agree.
That's basically what I have. I really liked the mystery. I thought it was really well done. That's all they said. Very immersive. I like how it tied into Legend of Machinui. Has some very nice effects and scenes, and just something that you just need to see. I'm assuming Ben's going to release it, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Alina, what do you think of this comic?
I never read it.
All right.
Wow.
Venom
Alrighty.
He's
he's gonna be very appreciative.
He's been trying to get me to read it, and I keep trying to, but I
Gonna
keep
burst the blood vessel.
forgetting.
She gonna burst the blood vessel.
I know it, but
Because you didn't read his comic. You should go read his comic right now. Go read his comic.
no, I'm playing
Come on, Elena,
solitaire.
Go read his comic. Don't. You know what? Solitaire's not an excuse. You can save a solid game of solitaire. Go read his comic. Go read his comic.
Okay, seriously.
Why does everyone here want me to read it so bad?
Because we're reviewing it.
Thomas.
And you're because we're reviewing it, and in order to review it, you gotta read the comic.
Alright.
So go read the comic already.
Shut up.
No, not until you read.
All right.
I'm reading, you jerk.
All right. We should edit
no,
this
just
stuff
not.
out. It's just,
No, let's not. It's like the suit joke.
Nah, we gotta edit it out. At least the large majority. Anyone else?
So you mean all that work was for nothing?
Yes. Alright, unless anyone has anything else to add?
Only that you're so mean for editing out the lulls.
It had to be done. For
No, it didn't.
the betterment of the podcast.
No, it didn't. This isn't like Mass Effect 3 where you gotta save one guy and condemn another. You can have the best of all of the world.
No, forget that. I'm condemning that lulziness. Now, anyway, I guess we can move on, knowing that Venom's comic, it will be released soon.
right? And I guess it's down to mine.
Yeah, it was extremely well done. When it's released, check it out. It is absolutely spectacular, and I really wish he could have gotten it in time.
Did you say call Venom a girl? It sounded like you said she.
It sounds like Elena can't hear.
I didn't do any such thing. I mean, he won't mind. We're awful.
Okay.
So anyway, let's move on to the second honorary entry that would have gotten in if it had more time, but couldn't. This is Foresight, a four parts, Kahi?
5 parts actually. It's gonna be 5.
Alright,
I
5 parts.
I found them. You know, I'm gonna extend it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 5.
This is Kahi's entry. So, Kahi, you're the author, you explain. I'm too lazy.
Okay, sure. Do you want me to explain the ending? I guess as a bonus thing. Since it's gonna be released by the time this gets edited, anyways.
This is probably gonna be released in the next few days, so go.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, about that time. Basically, my comic was supposed to be about a guy who discovers that he can see the future over the field of meaning, and he finds out that everything he does syncs up to murders. That everything he sees, like, you know, a murder happens. So, he finds out he can control this, and the whole thing is him going around trying to prevent the murders that happen, or trying to convince people that he can actually, see the future. So, I don't know. I guess that's basically about it. I want to do something different with fresh and new characters, so I wouldn't have to go through the entire trouble of reintroducing my old characters. And I want to try a sci-fi twist to the mystery genre, because I need there's going to be some murder thing somewhere. I want to try something a bit new, try to add some some urgency here, and maybe a future versus fate argument. So that's where the basis for this came from.
Hooray!
Yeah. All in all,
Yeah.
all in all, it's extremely well done. Out of all the Sprite comics, this was the most graphically intensive.
Graphically intensive. I wonder, is it really? Is it real?
It was photorealistic, and it was pulled off extremely well. It uses RZ, akin to Venom's comic, and it works. It works with this comic. The plot, it is very mysterious. Who gets killed, when, etc., etc. But the main contributor to this is its graphics, which is, like I said, they're very astounding graphics. But yeah, Kahi did a great job incorporating a lot of monologue into this comic, like different things, like philosophical meanings to this, here and there.
Yeah.
So,
I think I was mostly inspired by Heroes. You know that dude that always comes out and says something philosophical at the beginning of each Heroes episode. Yeah, not sure why I did that.
Yeah, but yeah. So this is actually already been posted. It's still being posted. It is spectacular. I cannot say much more other than this. You just really need to see it for yourself, because there's a lot of detail that you need to look over, and it's very easily missed. So, go check it out. Enjoy it. Great plot twist at the end. Would have been absolutely amazing contender had it made it into the contest. So yeah, that's Foresight. That's actually our review. That's been the entire coverage of all the comics and the honorary comics that were involved in this contest.
Woohoo!
So, yeah, what do you guys think?
I think that this is great. Yeah. Yep.
My predictions that the City of Wretches is easily going to get first place.
Yeah.
And for second place, it's up in the air. I mean, the entries, it is really up in the air. My hopes, oh come on, I'm in the finals. I'm hoping I can get second or third, and that Brookings doesn't get any spot.
Lol.
Wow.
Yep, I am.
I would say that's cruel, but
I'm cruel
that's
people who
I don't
generalize.
know. Yeah, there's just no offense to Brookings as a whole, but I think that there's some other entries that might deserve that spot better, in my honest goodness opinion.
Quite.
Yeah, it's not like. Yeah, I think honestly I would want out of 3 to win. I'd probably want or maybe 4. I'd like to see Tabs go in, because I'm a good friend of Tabs, and his wasn't too bad compared to what the other Sprite comics or whatever comics in here. I would like LJ's to win, of course, since I'm contractually obligated to say that. No, it's okay. I would like City of Wretches to win because the atmosphere was just unparalleled, and for a contest like this, it really should have, it really should get a chance to shine. And of course, Uncle Kruckus, I love that artwork. I can't get enough of that artwork, and yeah, that's about it.
So yeah, that's it. Alina, what do you think?
I can't remember Kite's comic, but I'm pretty sure I read it, and I can't read it right now because I don't know how to zoom in.
It's I will give you bookshelf link, so you should be able to just click on that as you look at any number.
Not to mention, we're actually just kind of finishing up. We were talking about
Wrapping up
the contest. So let me rephrase.
What?
Alina, what are your hopes for the contest entries? And yeah, what do you think?
I hope I win.
I hope contest entry number 1 wins.
Contest. The kids still never even made it to the final. Thankfully.
But he can still
wild card. Wildest card. You can't disgrace art, OJ.
For every vote that all the other comics get, he gets 1.
No.
Raffles. Raffle. The wild wild card.
And for anyone who voted for the kitchen entry, shame. Especially you, MK and Gobbler. MK because you're bad MK. And Gobbler, I'm sure you voted for bad Gobbler.
I'm pretty sure God.
You voted for LJ's comic. What were you thinking?
Hey.
Come on, you should know better. Know a good comic when you see it. Like mine. It should have been a write-in, like the presidential election. Yeah, no, okay. Actually, vote for who you think is the funniest or the most elaborate story, or I don't know. Just vote for whoever. Don't come in and report us saying that we told you to vote for somebody, and then somebody will be disqualified.
Yep.
That's not gonna be pretty.
No, we're not telling you who to vote for. Vote for who you want to. It's entirely up to you. Yeah, that's been it.
vote for Yumi Island. Come on, guys, you can still make a comeback. Vote for. Gonna draw it out.
How does text solve anything?
Yumi Island shall be victorious.
Anyway, I guess we'll sign out of here.
Yup. I'm
LJ.
I'm Alina.
And I'm that guy who's now the farthest in the back now that Venom's gone, named Kanye. Thank you for listening. This was TTV Comic Contest coverage. Now go vote.
Extravaganza!
Go vote
Yeah,
and
go
make
vote.
sure you do not vote for LJ's entry.
Okay. Now that we're done this episode, go vote. Or I'll find you in your sleep. And then we'll make a real mystery comic out of it.
Oh, shit.
And suit spray. Suit spray.
Alright, see you guys next.